All right, check it out. It
Real quick,
should be
I'm gonna say like
connecting.
I'm gonna just let you rock on the intro for the most part. I like when you do that because I'm not gonna be able to remember
Okay, we are officially live. Okay, sports fans, welcome to Couch Coaches, the podcast done live because I do not know how to edit. I'm your host DJ. I'm here with my co-host Sam. How are you doing today, Sam?
pretty good. Got some had some good football this weekend, both college and pros. It was a fun weekend of sports.
So to start off today, I like we talked about, I thought we could go over what happened this week in the NFL a little bit and talk about it. So the first topic I wanted to talk about is with another person becoming a victim of MetLife, do we need to, as fans, start complaining hard enough to try and force the NFL to make all stadiums grass?
Yes, I think that would be a great idea. I mean, it's harder. I don't know because with the Colts, Lions, Saints.
It
Well,
be
Colts have a retract. Because you could do it because if you have a retractable roof,
right. It becomes
it's
difficult
just
for like
difficult.
pure dome teams, absolutely. But I mean, how many star players have to become a victim of MetLife Stadium in particular before we do something about it?
What do you think the difference is with MetLife? Is it like worse turf? I mean, is turf uniform or
I
I don't
just
know.
I don't know. It might honestly at this rate, it might just be cursed.
It might be cursed. You're not wrong. You are not wrong on that.
But we've
I mean, if we're
lost
looking at,
But we just lost a top 10 receiver in the NFL for the season because of that crappy field.
I mean, it happened to Odell, it happened to Saquon, it happened to, I mean,
Rodgers was a victim of
more.
MetLife.
I forgot the Jets played there too. Yeah, yeah. It's just not. And it's so stark too. I mean, the fact that it like with Rodgers, it was like the first. Was it his first series as a Jet?
I believe he got to play 3 snaps. It was on his first official drop back as a Jet. I think.
I watched the game, but actually I was late to watching the game, so he was out of the game by the time I turned it on. I was like, "What happened?" It just was so bad. But it is I'm the more we talk about it, I kind of agree that it might just be cursed. It might be beyond like reason at a point.
It could be beyond
But I
all
mean, I think
logic.
honestly, I think that obviously probably the turf is a big portion of it. I think making grass close to uniform in the NFL would be smart, but at the same time, like I said, with like dome stadiums, like I don't know, do the Lions have a retractable roof? Do you know?
No, it's not retractable.
So the Lions, because the Colts is retractable, right? I'm remembering that right. I think.
I mean, you're absolutely right.
So
But
we're looking at
it's been a long time. The last time I can remember someone actually tearing their ACL at Ford Field. Um, I'm trying to think. It was Dalvin Cook, I believe. I believe it was he tore his ACL his rookie year. Dalvin Cook did, I believe. It was against Detroit. I know that.
that's a while ago. That's like a decade almost. I'm trying to think. Well, no, Hawk was playing for. I was thinking Hawkinson got hurt, but he was already on the Vikings when he got hurt. Um, I'm trying to think. Even with the Colts, it's like Luck got hurt, but that was in extenuating circumstances, and I can't even remember if he got injured in Indy. I mean, it wasn't a leg injury anyway that made him miss that full season. It was a shoulder.
Yeah, at this point, I'm
Um,
ready to start my own theory. MetLife is just cursed. Joe Namath did something that pissed off the football gods, and now everyone has to suffer.
when did MetLife even become a thing? When was it built?
No clue. I'm just blaming it on Joe Namath because he's old.
Yeah, Jets. The Jets are sneaking into the Giants. Let me see when it was built.
And then
I'm
we
just
lost.
curious who was playing for them.
Did you see the picture of that Tyreek Hill injury?
No, actually, I didn't.
Leg
I saw
was
that it
just
happened,
the
but
wrong way.
oh my
And
god.
I think the
But
initial
I
reports were just
mean,
trying to call it a knee sprain. Like, that dude is out for the year. I don't care. His leg was pointing a way it shouldn't point.
I'm trying to see. Oh my god. I think it was. So I think it was the second or third season of MetLife Stadium.
Oh,
The butt fumble happened.
it's interesting. The butt fumble
That's
is
just the one thing I
hilarious.
thought of where it was like, yeah, it was at MetLife too. I was making sure it wasn't an away game. I'm trying to think of some other like crazy events. Has it gotten worse?
I love being off topic.
I,
Sorry, just the butt fumble made me think of the first year of the Dan Campbell era. Do you remember Goff having the dick pic?
no,
Uh,
I don't remember this at all.
they I think I can't remember who this was against. I think it was against Chicago. Frank Ragnow snapped it early. It bounced off Jared Goff's thigh straight into a Bears defender's hand.
That is insane. That team was so bad too. Oh man, I remember I just was like, well, I remember I saw them play against the Bengals that season in person, and I just thought, man, this Detroit team is terrible. Jared Goff sucks.
Yeah, I
And then
thought he was sent
obviously,
there to die, but here we are now.
yeah, he's probably the best pocket passer in the NFL. Well, he kind of just kept getting developed. I mean, I don't know why one of the best head coaches in the NFL and Sean McVay just gave up on developing him out of nowhere.
I mean, he's asked. So you look at that LA offense, like as the quarterback of a Sean McVay offense, you're asked to do way more complicated things than Jared Goff is being asked to do in Detroit, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I would say too, something about the way he reads defenses, just from what I've seen in my limited time of watching him play, is just way faster, and I think it's progressively gotten faster year to year.
He is
Maybe because of
consistently
confidence.
improved. I mean, you have a coaching staff that believes in you week in and week out. You're gonna feel good every week.
Because it's just like, I mean, I watched him play this year. I watched him play last year a handful of times on television. I saw him play in person, like I said, in 21. And I watched him obviously a bunch in LA. And I just feel like the way how his processing speed is just so faster. Like he just is a more confident football player year to year. And I mean, he's had some ups and downs. Like obviously, those early years in LA, he was statistically better, but I still never like thought as good as they were that like he was the driving force of that. Like and now he is
Yeah, and I mean, you
like
can look
pretty
at the
good.
stats. His this last 3 years in Detroit have been statistically the best stretch of his career.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Just like efficiency
Like
standpoint, he has been unreal.
yeah. So sorry, let's do back to MetLife. I don't want to get fully off topic.
No, absolutely. Let's get back to MetLife, that piece of crap stadium that keeps claiming kneecaps.
Yeah, and also let me think. Where did they play before that?
I don't know
I'm trying to think
how
of
long have they been in Jersey?
because that stadium was built in 2010. Buffalo was like 2012, I want to say. Uh, they started, so it's been a little while. The Giants Stadium was in New Jersey, so it's been close to 50 years now.
Okay, so another.
MetLife,
I was gonna say another big injury in your division. So what do the Ravens do at this point if Lamar Jackson has to miss an extended period of time with that hamstring injury he suffered?
who's their backup right now?
Um, It was Cooper Rush, I believe.
That that's not good.
Let me actually double check that. I'm not convinced it was Cooper Rush, but I think it was.
Since 2020, here is just a partial list of notable injuries suffered at MetLife. I got a little list here.
Oh, nice.
Nick Bosa, ACL. Solomon Thomas ACL. Jimmy Garoppolo ACL. Mostert MCL. Sterling Shepard Achilles. Sterling Shepard ACL. So I guess he did both. Wandale ACL. Blake Martinez Achilles. Shane Lemieux partial tendon tear. Jabril Peppers ACL. Kyle Fuller ACL. Rogers Achilles. Al Woods Achilles. Jalen Phillips Achilles. Andrew Thomas Liz Frank injury. I don't know if I've heard of that. And then Neighbors feared ACL. It isn't announced. So
Liz Frank's like a really bad foot injury. That's what kept Chet Holmgren out his rookie year with the Thunder.
MetLife Stadium. You know what? Honestly, I'm gonna be completely honest with you. Here's my honest theory about it. Okay, so it's a turf stadium that takes a lot of maintenance, and there's two teams that play there, so it's like double the maintenance time. You know what I mean? Most
Absolutely.
maintenance crews, I think it's a lot of it has to do with like probably insufficient staffing or different staffing or not enough consult. I don't know if I mean, you know what I mean. Like, I wonder if the same people work for MetLife Stadium for Jets and Giants games, or do they work for the teams? Like, I'm not sure. It's just, I think that the fact that that stadium is used double as much as all the rest of the stadiums is a good reason why that turf could be bad.
Yeah, that's a fair point. It's not something I again had considered giving much thought was the fact that two teams play there. I just
Yeah, I mean, so
I know it's different because these guys are pros, but I loved playing on turf in high school, and I know that it's different because these guys are moving their bodies way quicker than I ever could, and that's what's causing these injuries because the body's simply not meant to move that fast. But that just
that's
feels
always
like
true.
all the reason more for there to be grass stadiums. At least every outdoor stadium should be grass.
Yeah,
At least.
at the very least. And you can give exceptions to New Orleans and Detroit. And is SoFi outdoor or SoFi have a retractable roof?
It might be
I don't.
retractable. Is Minnesota's in a dome too? I don't know if they're retractable or not.
I want to go to that stadium at some point. I think it sounds kind of neat. Um,
But with just the way everything's set up, like, they want to preach player safety. They change the kickoff rules. They invent the guardian caps. They do all this crap for player safety, and then they don't do anything for the lower body injuries.
which yeah, they're more focused on the head and concussions and all that, which is valid because it makes your brain mush. But at the same time, like walking is kind of cool. Like, I mean, simply like to make it a joke, I guess, but it, it's yeah. It is strange that it's that stadium too. It's just the one stadium has, and also that's true. That's another thing too. I mean, they're playing more games there, so it would have more injuries. That's another part of it.
I mean, it's the same amount of home games, but yeah, that is twice as many home games as any other NFL stadium, so that's a fair point.
Yeah, I mean, because you're factoring in Jets and Giants games. I don't know. I mean, but still though, it's an outlier. It's an outlier stadium just on and just so many Giants players. I mean, I didn't hasn't Saquon torn both of his ACLs?
I don't know that
It's
for a
like that's.
fact, but possibly.
Let me look it up and make sure they were home games.
But, just it feels like this year in particular, and the argument to be had for how many superstar injuries we have this year is that teams aren't playing their guys in the preseason anymore. You think that's
Yeah, and people.
contributing?
I'm not. I'm not sure because I mean I think that football's a pretty brutal sport. There's been lots of injuries. Um, it's hard to say.
I I'm definitely conflicted because you want to say that resting your guys is a good thing, but at the same time, when the games finally start to count, you're asking a guy who hasn't taken live snaps all off season to suddenly be going at 100.
Yeah, um, that's true. There's a lot because I think for some people it could make it worse, some people better. It's just a case by case.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
do.
know. I have a hard time taking a stance on that. To be honest with you, like a hard stance.
Yeah, I don't know if I can lean one way or the other either. But just, I mean, look at how
It's a
many guys
valid
we've
point, though.
lost. I mean, Malik Neighbors, Tyreek Hill, Joe Burrow. I mean, J.J. McCarthy's hurt. Lamar Jackson's hurt. We lost
Lamar
Nick
one. I didn't
Bosa.
even know about that.
Nick Bosa's year is
Yeah.
over. I just so many guys are already out. Brock Purdy has missed time already.
Yeah, Mac Jones is playing. I forgot about that. So many quarterback injuries too. It's one of those years too.
Yeah, it's definitely a unique year, and honestly, I think not getting live reps in the off season might be the blame. I don't know for a fact, but just feels like a continuous trend of guys are not playing at all in the preseason, and then a bunch of guys go down once the regular season starts.
Well, and one thing too is that I think maybe even a bigger factor in the same vein is the fact that they don't practice as much. I think that might have more to do with the preseason games themselves. Practice times have been cut so much. I mean, a lot of NFL players will talk about that. Brady talks about that a lot, having played, in 2000 when it was something completely different to, you know, 2023 was his last year, I think. So it's a night and day in terms of just practice time. That's why there's so many offensive lines are bad because they don't really have enough time to get reps together, learn each other's tendencies. It's very different that way. Because like people talk about how the game's changed, and it's like, well, offenses look a lot better. It's like, well, it's not. I don't know. And I didn't, that's just what a lot of players say is that it's changed a lot because of the lack of practice in comparison to how it used to be.
Yeah, I think
I'd
this
almost
has been the sloppiest start offensively to a season I've probably ever seen.
just so sloppy. I mean, I'm trying to think of what offenses actually look good.
I mean,
Man,
no one consistently because the
the
Lions
list.
were terrible in week one. I mean, the Colts looked pretty darn good for 3 straight weeks offensively. I'll give them that.
And the Chargers did too,
And
but they didn't do much of anything.
but the truly premier offenses of the league have kind of sputtered. Like the Eagles still don't look right despite being 4-0.
Yeah, no, it kind of reminds me of what was that year when they started out really hot, where they were like they just fell apart in the back half of the season.
I'm not sure. Oh,
Do you know?
no, that was the first year that they lost their coordinators. The year after they lost the Super Bowl with Hurts.
2023? Was this the
That's
year
the
I'm thinking of where
season
that
I think
happened?
you're thinking of.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I kind of feel like that again. But I mean, they're more talented than they were then, though. That is a part of it. And I mean, and they honestly usually look weird at the start of seasons. To be honest, it takes them a second to kind of mesh and figure out what their identity is season to season. Like even though their personnel is similar, it's just kind of that. Like, how much do we want on Hurts's plate? How much do we want on Saquon's plate? What receivers need to get involved? How can we scheme them the ball? Are we just not going to do that? Which sometimes feels like that's the decision they're making.
I
Um,
it feels like AJ Brown's on the verge of requesting a trade to me, quite frankly.
I'd love to see him go to New England, like reunite with Vrabel.
I
Just
mean,
Vrabel
that'd
loved
be
that guy.
awesome. That'd be a great call.
Well, it's sort of like I remember, like I think it was in the same year or something, where where Diggs went to the Bills and AJ Brown went to the Eagles, and it just completely, changed that quarterback's fortune.
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
maybe not the
Josh
same year, but it
Allen's
was.
development was heavily influenced by Stephon Diggs.
And yeah, and I think giving Drake May, and they kind of tried to do that with Stephon Diggs, ironically again, but he's just not healthy anymore. And AJ Brown's still fairly healthy.
I mean, Stephon had a great week
Uh,
last week. He had 8 catches and topped the century mark, so he looked good last week.
yeah, hopefully that keeps up because I like that guy. I want to see that. I like Drake May a lot. That's why he's on my fantasy team like every league, if not my starter, my backup. So
Yeah, and
um,
that's a fair point. Drake May's a talented quarterback, and he's got pieces around him now. Just waiting for all of it to click. And Vrabel's going to get that defense right.
yep, I think Vrabel. I think that's one of the best coaches in the NFL. Like probably top five. I don't understand why the Titans fired him.
Some
It's just
at some point it's every coach's time, and they just weren't getting anywhere with Vrabel. They were stuck in no man's land because they weren't improving the roster enough, but he was coaching too well.
he's keeping them at a decent clip, even though they're a bad roster.
Yeah, I mean,
And it's hard to win
I'd argue being in
unless you
purgatory
have.
is worse than being bad, quite frankly.
Yeah, I'm starting to. Oh, I mean, the Bengals are about to be bad, but when we had Burrow healthy, that's basically where we were. You know, bottom, maybe quarter of the league roster.
Well,
I
that's a
don't know.
perfect just
You know,
bringing up the Bengals and how poorly that roster is constructed. I think that's a good segue into getting into the main topic of today. And how should you construct an NFL roster via the draft, free agents, trades? What are your philosophies? What are my philosophies in terms of creating a Super Bowl contender?
yeah, I feel like the meat and potatoes guys are the important, um, are where you should start, along with the quarterback. Um, I
Absolutely.
remember, yeah, and like in the so essentially, the Bengals have essentially done that in reverse. Like they drafted Burrow, which I mean that's obviously fine. You need a quarterback, but then you drafted Chase over Penei Sewell. Both those guys panned out. Chase is maybe the best receiver in the league. Penei Sewell is one of the better tackles in the league. Um, and then they picked who'd they pick in the following draft? Dax, who again, he's not he's a good defensive player when he's healthy. He's playing nickel now, and I like him at nickel. You saw Dax at Michigan.
Oh
What
yeah,
kind of player he is. He's really a talent.
yeah, he's a very
He's a
talented
talented DB.
player. But at what point do you
Yeah,
acknowledge that your franchise is failing? And I know you know this, but Zach Taylor and the GM of the Bengals, when do you acknowledge that we're failing because we refuse to invest high end capital in our offensive line?
and they picked Amarius Mims, and when you watch the videos of how bad the Bengals' offensive line is, he's okay, but everybody else is bad. Like all the free agency signings and this and that. And I think instead of investing draft capital into an offensive line, a lot of what they've done is do patchwork stuff. And I would say in 2022 and last year to the back half of the season, the offensive line was competent, or at least it looked competent. So they go through spurts, but it's just all patchwork outside of Mims. And it's like this year it's been horrendous
Yeah, what was it against the
for both.
Vikings? Chase Brown had like 10 carries for 7 yards or something. It was horrendous.
So bad. So even though we need defensive help, that I honestly think you need to develop your own offensive line for the most part.
I mean, when
Like
you're
if you can sign an all pro, if you could sign an all pro tackle, I mean, obviously, if you can sign Trent Williams, if you can sign, guys like that, if you can sign Penei Sewell, if you can sign somebody like that, yeah, sign that guy. That changes your organization just having that guy.
yeah, it instantly
But
it makes your
you
O
need
line
to,
better.
yeah. But I mean, signing somebody like Orlando Brown, like maybe you should just invest in draft capital on this. And I understand the whole point of, you know, the Bengals coming off that Super Bowl picked a D lineman, and they probably were like, the pick 30. It's like, well, we value this guy with a first round grade, not this tackle or whatever. But it's like, well, no, you need to keep your franchise quarterback. You need to keep him up and playing. We don't win if Joe Burrow's not playing, regardless of if the defense is bad or we don't have receivers or whatever. I mean, and it's hard to sit here and be like, well, I wish you would have picked Sewell over Chase. I mean,
But how does your team look if you have Sewell helping keep Burrow upright and he still has an elite wide receiver to throw to in T. Higgins?
yeah, borderline elite anyway, and you could sign for somebody, trade for somebody, um, give Tyler Boyd another contract instead of letting him walk, so on and so forth.
Because I remember laughing at Cincinnati when they picked Chase over Sewell. I mean, obviously Chase is a fantastic player and they made the Super Bowl that year, but does it really matter if you don't win it all?
Yeah, I don't know. Sorry about that.
No, it's all
I don't
good.
know if we go to the school without Chase, but I don't know.
I mean, it's hard to say, but that O line is why they couldn't beat the Rams in the Super Bowl, even though they came close.
Yeah, and I just don't know if that team is our maxed out potential or if there's. Because then I just think about, to a lesser extent, the 2010s Bengals, where they consistently overperformed because they were a meat and potatoes team. You know,
Yeah, I mean, you
like
got,
Andy Dalton's your quarterback,
and
and
then
he's
you
not
got
even
guys
close
in
to
the
Joe Burrow's this year.
trench. Geno Atkins was great for you guys for a long time.
Yep, good pass rush, solid offensive line, some Pro Bowlers on there, Andrew Whitworth, so on. I just remember watching the Bengals during that era. They just were a very um, grounded, like they're a tough team. They were just a tough team. They don't feel like a tough team anymore.
No, they definitely feel showy, which is not a personality you want for a team based in Ohio.
Yeah, but really just in the sport of football, sport he doesn't usually or show he doesn't really work usually.
I'll,
There's some notable exceptions, but
I'm a firm
you know,
believer that if a team can embody its city's personality, they are going to be a great team. That's why, in any sport, your Los Angeleses and your New Yorks can win off of flash.
and the Rams kind of did
Yeah, I
that
mean,
year.
they did it the
They were
flashy
pretty
way,
flashy.
star-studded. They went out and got Matt Stafford. They had Aaron Donald. They went out and traded for Von Miller and Odell Beckham Jr.
Yep, got Odell midseason. Yeah, that was so crazy. Um,
But I guess to put it
yeah,
into
yeah,
perspective, like I'm fully agree with you. Like you win games in the trenches, that's how you should build your team. But when do you take the quarterback in that? Is it dependent on the quarterback's talent level that you think he's transcendent, or do you look at it as like, if I draft this guy with how bad my O line is right now, am I going to have another David Carr? Because David Carr was immensely talented, but he got sacked 80 times and was never confident again.
yeah, it ruined him. I think you go based on value. So in this draft, it's like, I mean, people were high on Cam Ward, but I mean, you think about, so I'm trying to think of a good draft. When the Steelers picked Kenny Pickett, I think that was probably the right thing to do. But even though it didn't pan out, I just thought picking the Pitt guy as the Steelers was probably the smart thing to do, just because
I mean, I get drafting
if
the
he didn't pan
hometown
out, that was
kid, but you look at Kenny Pickett as a prospect. Like he never should have had a first round grade.
no. I mean, and I use this example with Ben a lot. I said the reason they picked Kenny Pickett is because they didn't want another Dan Marino. Now, because they passed on Dan Marino, and he's born in Pitt, born in the city, went to Pitt Central Catholic, went to Pitt, the school, and then was passed on by the Steelers and had an amazing career for the Dolphins. And I was like, you'd rather be wrong about it twice because you picked one than wrong about it twice because you didn't. And Kenny Pickett be a Pro Bowl quarterback.
Yeah,
Because I
it's
mean,
just I just remember going into that year and I was almost right. Who would have thought Mr. Irrelevant would be the best quarterback in the class? But my QB1 that year was Malik Willis.
I've always liked Malik Willis.
I like we
The
talked about
upside is so
last
high.
week. I am drawn to the athleticism, the physical traits that you can't teach, and Malik Willis has those traits to be an elite quarterback.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And I don't know why Vrabel just gave up on him so quick. I don't know what Vrabel saw that he didn't like.
Was it even Vrabel that traded him? Because I want to say Callahan was the coach at that point.
It was after Vrabel left, but Vrabel had him his rookie year, and like wouldn't play him.
I mean, you had Ryan
And
Tannehill, who was still performing at a starting level at that time.
I don't remember the circumstances of this. I probably should have talked about it. I don't know. Those Titans teams were so weird when they were kind of falling apart.
I mean, it's
And they
incredible
still
they
had money.
stayed as relevant as long as they did with that roster construction.
Mm-hmm. Trading AJ Brown like that out of nowhere. It just, I don't know.
But
Yeah, I was gonna use
the team I want to use in
the
the
team that I was really
example.
gonna.
Sorry to cut you off there.
I was gonna say the 2010s Cowboys, like
Yeah,
the mid 2010s Cowboys.
that's another weird era where you have competent quarterback play, you have some stars across the field, but just never enough to get there.
But they were built around their offensive line. They invested 3 first-round picks in their offensive line, and it made a quarterback that was a rookie, running back, a injured receiver. Like he used to be a star, but at the time really wasn't. And Dez turned them into a great offense because they just had that foundation. Then you look at the Bengals, where it's like, oh my God, you have 2 all-star, your superstar receivers. I mean, I think T. Higgins. I don't know if T. Higgins is a superstar, but 2-star receivers. You have arguably. I mean, you could argue Joe Burrow's the best quarterback in the league. I don't know that he is, but you could argue it.
Oh, there's an argument
You
to be
have
had.
a good running back. What'd you say?
I said there's an argument to be had there. I don't know if I'd put him at number one, but you could argue it for sure.
Yeah, and so you have like a generational quarterback at the least, and you can't perform because you don't have that foundation of an offensive line. The Cowboys are the exact opposite. I mean, the defense is its own animal. But I honestly, even though the defense was so bad, I mean, you look at last night. If you watch the Bengals, Demetrius Knight looked like the best player on their defense. They got him in the second round. They could have picked him in the. They could have picked an offensive lineman in the first round last year, and then still had a good defensive player and built your defense to the lower rounds. And then eventually, when the line's finally competent, I mean, because it took, even with the Colts, it took 2 first-round picks on the offensive line. I think that's a smart way to draft.
I think so too. I
You
don't.
know,
You could have your starting 5 linemen set, and I still would call it a good pick if you take one in the first round.
yeah, especially if he pans out, you could trade the other lineman's an asset then.
Because let's take my
It's
Detroit
just,
Lions for an example. They were a genuine candidate to go take a tackle in the first round this year because Taylor Decker's getting long in the tooth.
oh yeah, I love Taylor Decker.
Yeah,
I watched him get drafted by
he's
them.
been an above average tackle for a long, long time.
Yeah,
That's a Hall of very
and their
good
offensive
player right
line,
there.
they're another example of that. I mean, they invested a lot in their offensive line.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
there's two first round picks in their tackles.
Graham
Both
Glasgow
of
was a
them.
third-round pick by them. Tate Ratledge, the rookie, second-round pick, and then on the other side you have Christian Mahogany, who was a sixth-round pick.
And where was Ragnow picked?
Ragnar was a first-rounder. He
Was he?
was 20th overall, I want to say, his year.
How long was he a Lion?
About 8 years, man. When your toes messed up, man, I can't blame them for retiring.
I get it. No, but that's what I mean. I mean, there's a lot of they put a lot in their offensive line, and I think it won them a lot of games. And also, their offensive line was like meh when Goff got there, but they all started meshing really well towards the end of his first year there, I'd say. And then the next year they came in, they had one of the better offensive lines in the league, or a better offensive line than the third year of Campbell. They had one of the best offensive lines in the league. It's just, I think, and then defensively, I mean, I think, for example, this year we have a transcendent defensive back coming out in Caleb Downs. Like that guy might be the best safety I've ever seen in college.
But you can't take a
Honestly,
safety like top three and get away with it consistently.
that's my point. That's what I'm saying, though. Yeah, but I'm saying there's outliers like Caleb Downs, but usually you want to take a defensive lineman.
Because if you're picking
Like he's
top,
one of the meat and potato guys.
you're picking top five. There's three
Like,
positions you should think about taking: blindside tackle, defensive lineman, quarterback.
yep, yep.
And
But if
I
you have all
stand
three of
by
those
that.
things, then
And funny enough, you know who I want to
oh
use
yeah,
you know who I want to use an example of who built a team properly?
who?
The Cleveland Browns.
Who they what blindside tackle did they pick?
Um, that guy out of Bama, I want to say it was Jonah Williams. Is that his name? Who that he
Yeah,
didn't pan out. He just can't stay healthy. But they signed Jack Conklin in free agency. I'm talking about the era of like post drafting Baker and Miles Garrett, like that era
yeah, those two.
where they were actually relevant. Like there's a team that spent high end draft capital on the right players.
Yeah, Dorsey, I actually think is a good GM. To be honest, he's made a lot of mistakes, but I actually think overall he's a good team builder.
I mean,
Just the quarterback thing was weird.
he's an elite evaluator of the quarterback. I'm glad I don't know if he still is on the Lions front office staff, but he was.
Yeah, that's a weird one. But
It's my understanding that Dorsey is just that unlikable that despite his talent, the Cleveland didn't want to work with him anymore because he's that unlikable.
yeah, that's what everybody says. I think that's why I'm with him and Andy too in Kansas City. Um, no, and some other examples. I mean, even the Chiefs to a lesser extent. They picked Eric Fisher first overall.
You can't always get it
I don't
right,
remember.
but those are the guys you take top five. Those are the guys that change your franchise. An elite tackle, an elite pass rusher, an elite quarterback. That's what turns your franchise around. Not a wide receiver.
Well, that's what I mean. I feel like there's outliers. I feel
Absolutely.
like Calvin Johnson's an outlier. I feel like Saquon Barkley's an outlier. I feel like Caleb Downs is going to be an outlier. I feel like Luke Kuechly is an outlier. If you pick Luke Kuechly first overall, you would not be that's not a dumb decision. That's a good decision.
Yeah,
Luke Kuechly changes your defense the day he's on there because he's an outlier. I mean, that's just what he is.
yeah. And you're right.
Um,
There are exceptions to the rule, but in general, I'm definitely like
but
a
generally,
positional value guy in general. I'll tell you what, my own lines have proved me wrong on that because I did not love the Jahmyr Gibbs pick. I did not love the Jack Campbell pick because of the positions they played, but they're both great at what they do.
yeah. And you have to have those positions. I mean, they're on the football field. Like, and if you feel like that's the best guy on the board, yeah.
Yeah,
And
it shocked me. I wasn't thrilled. I got my mind changed almost instantly because of Jahmyr Gibbs and Jack Campbell's talent levels, just watching them play. But in general, you can find good, competent running back play on day 2 and 3 every single year. Running backs are a dime a
yeah,
dozen. Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan Robinson, those guys aren't a dime a dozen, but you can replicate that kind of production with a committee of lower end draft picks.
yeah, and yeah. And I mean, Josh Allen. If you game plan around Josh Allen, you're gonna come up short. You can game plan for the running game for most teams. Like that's kind of what Burrow and Allen and Mahomes and Lamar and I'm forgetting somebody, but those four in particular, like they'll give you. You can't game plan for them necessarily. I don't think there's really very many running backs that exist that you can't really game plan for.
No, and like you
You
look
maybe
at
stick
even the
one.
elite ones get stuffed by the great run defenses. Like not even the great
Yeah,
Barry Sanders is going to have an easy time running against that 2000 Ravens defense.
exactly, exactly. Who could? Adrian Peterson? I don't know. Probably not. It's like anybody. I mean, you look at anybody.
No, that arguably the greatest
But
defense of all time. You could put whoever you think the greatest running back of all time is, they're going to have a hard time running on that defense.
well, and there's a good point to be proven there because I mean, you look at the Bears, they stuffed everybody, and the '80s was a very good era for running backs. I don't know exactly who all running backs they played. I'll go look at their schedule. But the only person that beat the '85 Bears was Dan Marino. That's and he actually dominated them. I think he dropped 40 on their head, if I'm not mistaken. Let
Yeah,
me
and
see.
we're talking about Dan Marino, who was a guy who kind of played ahead of his era.
Yeah, he dropped 38 on the best defense of all time, arguably. But yeah, so we had I think some rough quarterbacks so far. Vikings. Uh, Joe Montana held him to 10 points. Yeah, that's some outlier stuff right there.
And then, so we've obviously established, we all know that like you build Super Bowl contenders through the draft, but at what point, like at what level do you supplement the holes in your roster with free agency moves and with trades? Do you do what the
I
Rams do?
honestly
Do you
like.
go with the all-in approach and say F them picks and go get Von Miller, Matt Stafford, and OBJ?
I think that was a. They're an outlier. I think that's another outlier situation. Those
Because
Rams teams.
I don't think that's a consistent strategy to win because the Rams did that for years of saying F them picks and kept trading their first round picks for these guys.
And they really haven't dealt with very many consequences because they're really good at picking in the low rounds.
Yeah, I mean, you
Like they got
find
Puka, they
Kyron
got
Williams,
Kyron.
you find Puka, you find Cooper Cup.
Now I don't know if that's necessarily something you can do consistently, but I mean they were all in. They liked their team, they liked their quarterback, they won a Super Bowl with Matt Stafford. They got it. They could easily get another one. I mean I don't know if that's super likely this year, but every year you have Matt Stafford and you have a halfway competent roster, you should be able to win the Super Bowl.
Absolutely, as long as Matt
I mean, because
Stafford's
you look at
healthy, the Rams have a shot.
when the Lions were winning like 11, you're going like 11-5 and stuff. I don't even think he was in his prime yet. I think he was in his prime when they were a horrible roster.
He hit
And he's
his peak. He hit his peak when Calvin retired.
and it's just that's so horrible to think about.
I mean, it's almost
That
like
makes me mad.
losing arguably not the greatest receiver of all time, but a guy who's one of the best receivers of all time. Losing that forced him to become a smarter passer.
He was so good.
And I think we're kind of seeing something similar with Josh Allen right now. Last year and the first quarter of this year, he's playing smarter football.
And last year. I mean, what did he pick? I mean, like I said, I think Burrow should have won the MVP, but I mean, his last year's numbers were absolutely absurd. And I'm looking at the 3,000 yards, 28 touchdowns, 6 picks. What an absolute beast.
I mean, there's a guy who was, just a gunslinger who would make a couple boneheaded picks every other week, suddenly taking care of the football at a high level because he doesn't have a guy to bail him out anymore. He has to be precise because he doesn't have a true X receiver yet.
And I honestly think Joe Brady, I think, is one of the best offensive minds in the NFL. I really believe that.
Absolutely, he's
So
going to be a
having
head
a,
coach at some point.
I hope he's head coach of the Bengals next year. That's what I want to see.
I've been calling for Zach Taylor's job
But
since he got there.
so I'm gonna say this: the one thing about the Bengals being bad this year is it's gonna make the organization take a look in the mirror, and I think they're gonna fire the head coach and GM. And I'm hoping Burrow just sits out the whole year. I want him to. I want them to shut him down. I mean, because we're 2-2 right now. You know that you know they're 500, but it's not gonna get any better.
No,
I
but
mean they're
if
not even confident right now. So
if that staff wants to try to
and
keep their jobs, they have to go out and trade for a quarterback.
I almost wish they wouldn't. I'd love to see Jameis in a Bengals jersey, but I don't. I almost wish they wouldn't.
Because guys like
I mean,
Russ and
we're to the
Jameis
point
are
where
gonna be available.
Jameis already might be available for the right price.
I
I
mean,
don't know who they'd be more eager to trade.
how much is it really going to cost you to get their third string quarterback, like a six round, like a conditional 6 round pick for Jameis Winston?
Maybe. I mean,
And
you also have to worry about Jackson Dart going down, but I don't know who they want to keep as their backup.
it's got to be Russ, right? Because as much as people want to dog on Russ, he still it takes care of the football at a decent level compared to Jameis, who's just going to say, "F it, my receiver's down there somewhere."
And if it's Jamar Chase, that could be kind of fun to watch. That's where I'm at with it. I would probably want to buy a Jameis Bengals jersey. I'm not gonna lie,
That'd be one of the most cursed jerseys
just
I've
to
ever
have it.
seen.
So cursed. That's why I have it. Um, I want to see the Bengals bottom out. That's really what I want to see happen at this point. Like I love this. I mean, I'm gonna watch them and root for them every week, but at this point, I just want to see them bottom out, get a high pick, pick a lineman,
I
pick
mean,
I don't know who's in this draft,
it'd be a great place
but
to
pick
be in because their season is realistically over without Joe Burrow. So you take a playoff caliber team,
just shut them down.
have them play terribly. Suddenly you have the option to pick whoever the best tackle in the class is, and now you
Or
could be
guard
a
or
Super
whatever,
Bowl
best lineman
contender.
overall. Yeah, and you have a better coach. You have Joe Brady as your head coach and a new
I,
GM, and you can turn around and try to trade T Higgins and get more picks.
I don't know. If I'm Cincinnati, I'd almost want to lean more towards a defensive focused guy who might be able to maximize with limited talent because that offense is going to be elite.
I almost wish they just fucking promote Al Golden. I mean, I wanted Vrabel. I wanted him to fire, but I mean, he would have gone. I think he was going to the Patriots regardless because he trusts their ownership. I mean, why would he go to the Bengals? You know, he's from Ohio, but he's from Northern Ohio. He grew up a Browns fan, so it's not like he has like sentimental about. You know, he's not like super sentimental about Cincinnati.
Let's say that
Um,
Bengals job had been open last year. That's not a bad job to take because the ownership is proven over the last 2 decades that they're willing to let a guy sit there and try to build his team up.
yeah, yeah.
Because what we're in
They
like
won't
year
meddle.
5 or 6 of the Zach Taylor era, and it just has never gotten better. But he's still their head coach.
Yeah, isn't it weird to think about? Like Marvin was their head coach like right before him. They've had 3 coaches since I've been alive. Like that's it.
Yeah,
And you think about all the mediocrity, and they've had 3 coaches. I can't remember the other guy's name who they had before Marv, but
I couldn't tell you.
it's just yeah, I used to know who he was, but it's just so much mediocrity. I mean, sorry, I turned into me belly aching about the Bengals, but
Nope, we're here to
I
talk
mean, if you
sports.
literally this is what we're talking about is draft strategy, and you look at the worst example of how to construct your roster. It's like it's just everything you don't want to do
Yeah,
outside of paying your franchise quarterback,
yeah.
who's a
Refuse to
generational
acknowledge.
player.
I can't talk. Refuse to acknowledge the O line. Draft wide receivers in the top 2 rounds. Draft all these skill position guys that aren't. You gotta have the big uglies to win in this league.
Yeah. Well, no, and they did. They picked Demarius Mims in the first round. I'm gonna give him credit for that. He was the 16th pick. He's their best lineman last year. Um, but you can't just pick one guy then just stop.
Because
It's
like,
such a
look at the other teams that are doing well in the NFL. They spent consistently year after year good capital on linemen, offensive and defensive side of the ball.
yeah.
I mean, look at the Colts.
Just
They finally had a resurgence because Daniel Jones is protecting the football. That's really the big difference to me there because they've spent all this capital on their O and D line with Quentin Nelson and I can't name another lineman off the top of my head, but they've spent good capital on their O line, and then you got Quiddy Pay, DeForest Buckner on the D line.
is Ryan Kelly still there? I remember he was a first round pick for the Colts.
I want to say he is. The guy I wanted to bring up was Will Fries, but I'm pretty sure he's in Minnesota now.
Ryan Kelly's in Minnesota now. As of this year, actually. Last year is when he left. Or was his last year there? Man. But I mean, they usually they post Luck they've done it. Well, Luck was there for parts of it, but I don't know.
But like right after the post Luck era, they had a amazing offensive line.
Yeah, that 2018 season for the Colts was pretty magical because they had a good offensive line. Luck was healthy for the most part. Good weapons. Yeah, that was a fun team. It's one of my favorite teams ever because I love Luck so much.
And then I just look at it, and we'll see if the experiment works out. But one of the biggest roster blunders I think he can make is trading for a superstar and then having to extend him right after. So, most recent example, Green Bay giving up 2 1s for Micah and having to pay him.
He is a pass rusher though.
He is an elite pass rusher, but that's almost a cardinal sin to me in roster building because now you're paying a non-quarterback $47 million a year and you're paying a above average quarterback over $50 million a year. That's like 40% of your cap space to 2 guys. How are you going to build around them if none of these rookie receivers take off?
I just think I keep drafting well because they've done a good job so far.
I mean, have they done a great job of drafting? Because, like, what weapons does Jordan Love have?
Jaden Reed. I mean, he's got a bunch of solid weapons.
Yeah, but that's the point. Like, you look at the teams who have been winning the last several years, they have true number ones at the receiver spot.
Who's the last? The Chiefs really didn't.
The Chiefs.
Unless you count Kelsey.
I'd say that you could count Kelsey as a number one the last time they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But the Eagles, A.J. Brown's a true number one. Travis Kelce was the true number one the last time they won it. I mean, the Rams, Cooper Kupp was absolutely a true number one that year.
Yeah.
Like, receiver
23?
has become a very... Who won in 23? Because it went Rams, then the Chiefs got back and won.
Yeah. Which that was bullshit too, but...
Yeah, I mean, we can complain about the results all we want. The Chiefs were the champions, though.
Yeah. Getting an extra down on a key series will help you with that.
You want to talk about extra downs? The year Michigan won the Natty, and no one talks about this, and I was sitting there with my dad counting the downs. The year Michigan won the Natty, Ohio State had 5 downs at the end of the game to try to get a first down and still couldn't do it.
That Michigan team was so dominant. Like, I love that team so much.
It was an amazing ride. I love Blake Corum.
Blake Corum is that dude, and I hope that Jeremiah Love gives me that run. I think that Notre Dame's about to win out, and I'm like, is 10-2 Notre Dame good enough to make the playoffs? I don't know.
That's a tough one.
2 top 25 losses.
But
at the beginning of the season.
Now, here, I want your opinion on this because I'm very much like, and I've hinted at this, like, Obviously, there are exceptions like your Saquon Barkley's and your Adrian Petersons, but should you take a running back in the first round
Yes,
in a
I
general
do think so.
sense?
Not, I mean,
Is
it
that a
depends.
position in general you want to invest that high of draft capital in?
Okay, so if you're the Chargers, right? You got Justin Herbert, you got Joe Alt, who you invested your pick in last year, and you've paid, even though he's not healthy, you've paid Khalil Mack. Yeah, you can take a running back. It's a late stage move. That's what Bill Walsh said. It's a late picking Jerry Rice was a late stage move. That team was solidified. Okay, I'll spend my 20th pick overall on a receiver I like. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
and that's a fair point. It probably does depend on where you are in your rebuild because, like, as great as Saquon Barkley is, the Giants had no business with the state of their roster selecting him number 2 overall.
Yep. And it worked for 2 seconds and it fell apart. And honestly, I was going to say this too. I wanted to talk to you about this last time and I got distracted. The 2022 Giants, this is my first year playing fantasy. This is why I remember. Saquon played phenomenal. Daniel Jones looked really good. He was an above average passer, but he was really good rushing the ball too. And that Giant team went to the playoffs.
An upset
That
of
was like the
Vikings team.
foreshadowing. Yep, that was the foreshadowing of what they both have now been doing. I don't know. I mean, saying Daniel Jones, overhyping Daniel Jones is a trap a lot of people are falling into. But I'm just saying, I would not be surprised if he goes on to be a successful quarterback for the Colts.
I
Like,
mean,
I
he's
genuinely wouldn't be surprised.
he's really playing for a contract extension, and so through the 4 games, he's earned it.
Yeah, yeah. Yesterday wasn't ideal, but he's not. You don't have to be great every week. I mean, who is?
Nope, and you were playing a staunch
Um,
Rams team. I mean, the
so
Rams are a tough team to beat.
that team was very interesting in hindsight because you look at it and you're like, Saquon gets out of there, 2,000 yards. Daniel Jones now got out of there finally, looks phenomenal. It's like, and when the Colts were going to start him, I was a little bit skeptical, but like, they saw something in him that obviously we didn't see other than in 2022. Because with Saquon Barkley, I was confident that if he got out of there, if he had a good offensive line, blah blah blah, he'd be fine. And Daniel Jones looked good that year, and then he fell apart because the team fell apart. And I was just like, well, maybe he just sucks. I was quicker to judge him than I was Saquon for obvious reasons, because Saquon is maybe the most talented running back I've seen in my lifetime, arguably just physical talent. So on. And Daniel Jones was a relatively average quarterback in terms of the tangible side of the game,
Yeah, no matter how
or
you
seemed to be
say
in
it,
terms of.
Daniel Jones is just a guy.
And maybe not. Maybe he's going to prove that wrong, but we'll see. Because I like him, I do like him. But I was just thinking about that 2022 Giants team. Like it was some foreshadowing. That was some interesting foreshadowing. Um,
Yeah, it's
but
interesting just
we'll
to
see
see
how it all
what.
pans out.
It always fascinates me how teams make moves in the off season because it's so funny because the teams that have the most cap space tend to be the worst, and then they spend all this money on high price free agents, and they're still bad because they spent all their money on like 2 guys.
Yeah, just don't do that. Be smart with your money.
Like,
There's a lot of teams that have won a lot of games doing that, including the Eagles. I mean,
yeah, but you look at the backbone of the Eagles that's still through the draft. You're looking at these teams that are trying to do a quick
yep.
turnaround, and their backbone is built off of free agency, which just isn't a recipe for success. Free agency should be to
They're a prime
supplement it.
example. Yes, they're a prime example of making the right deal at the right time. Traded for AJ Brown when they need a receiver. Traded for Saquon when they need a running, or signed Saquon when they need a running. You know what I mean? Making the right free agency and the right trade at the right time.
Like they're very intentional
They're
with every
prime
move they
example of
make.
that. Yeah, You know, the '90s Cowboys. I mean, how they build up their team. It's like a lot of that too. It's like, yeah, a lot of backbones to the draft. You drafted Aikman, you drafted Irvin, you drafted Emmett, you drafted all the linemen for the most part. You drafted a lot of your defense, but then you got Charles Haley and Dion at the right time. You know what I mean? Like getting Dion won another Super Bowl. It's like that's just another example like that.
Right. And, it's interesting because, like, and I have full faith in my Lions to make the right moves, but I've been begging them to make, like, a splash play, let's go over the top type move. But no, they've just consistently said, we like what we have. We're going to continue to build through the draft, and they have continued to be successful.
Yeah, they want to sign their guys. They don't want to give money to other people's guys.
No, it's
You know what I
incredible.
mean?
Like, all the guys getting extended by Detroit outside of DJ Reed, those are guys we drafted.
Yeah, it's a good organization. Somehow the Lions are a good organization now. It's hard. It's just after all the pain they put you guys through. It's a beautiful thing to see. It
It,
really is.
it really is incredible to finally have a competent football team.
Yeah, and you think about like the Bengals and the Lions, and it's just like that draft was a pivotal moment. You guys picking Sewell and us, or us picking Chase, and you guys picking Sewell.
Yeah, I
That was a
couldn't get
pivotal moment.
over. I could not get over Penei Sewell dropping to 7. Wish
I
we were
couldn't either. He's one of
friends
the best
that
colors
year.
on
I
offensive team.
was I was freaking out when we got Swell that year. It's a shame we weren't friends yet.
Yeah, I wasn't high on the Chase pick. I didn't like Chase in college as much as I like Jefferson. Weirdly, even though Chase had better numbers.
I mean, I liked
But
Jamar
I
Chase. I
don't know.
knew he'd be good, but just Penei Sewell.
Yeah. Well, that draft was so strong at receiver too. I mean, remember like Waddle, Smith, and him all went high. Like I don't know.
And then Amon-Ra on day 3. What a steal there.
He's their age.
Same draft class.
I was thinking he was older than. Wow, what a draft! What a draft class. I was thinking he was a little older than that, but that's crazy. But Chase, like, I used to like get pissed when players would sit out years because like this is kind of apples to oranges because Chase was in college. But when Chase sat out all of 2020, it made me worry because of Le'Veon Bell. If that makes sense.
I mean, that's just such a unique circumstance, though, because of the COVID year.
Yeah, and so many people did it. But at the time, my only like point of reference for somebody sitting out a full season and coming back was L. Bell, and it didn't, and he never looked the same. So it was just like that whole concept made me nervous.
Yeah, I mean, to give you another example, who was it? It might have been Charles Rogers that tried to he tried to withdraw from the draft, but it was too late, so he had to sit out and then couldn't go back to college because he had declared for the draft, waited a whole year, re-entered the draft without playing any live football at Ohio State for a year, got drafted out of the Lions and was just never that guy.
I didn't even know about that. I knew he played for the Lions. Like, I know that name, but I didn't know that whole part of the story.
And I might have gotten the name wrong. It was one of the 4 straight receivers that Matt Millen took, but I think it was Rogers. One of them, like, decided to withdraw from the draft and couldn't go back to college and re-enter the next year and just sucked.
Charles Rogers is the one from Michigan State.
Okay,
He's dead. I didn't know that.
Charles Rogers is dead?
Yeah, what the hell? I didn't even. He died in 2019.
Huh. Yeah, don't wish death on anyone. That's a young guy. He should still be alive.
Yeah. He was like 38 when he died. Sorry, made a little sad moment. Roy Williams from Texas. That guy actually kind of panned out halfway decent.
Not in
I'm just looking at these
Detroit.
drafts real quick trying to see it. No, not in Detroit.
He had a nice little stint with what was the Cowboys that he finally figured it out a little bit.
Yes. Yeah. If I remember right, I'll go back and look in a second.
Oh, that's wow. Yeah, Charles Rogers had died of liver failure. Yeah, according to
27.
Wikipedia, he got injured a lot during his early years in Detroit and got addicted to painkillers,
That is so sad.
and that ended
He's
up
from
causing the
Michigan.
liver failure. Yeah, he's from Saginaw. That's a shame. You hate to see that.
Let's
Oh.
see. I was just trying to find the stuff about that.
But
About
you
the
want
draft
to
stuff.
talk about how not to build a team. It wasn't 4 years in a row, but I think it was 4 out of 5 years in a row. Matt Millen spent a first round pick on a wide receiver.
And Calvin was the only one that really panned out.
Yep, Calvin was the only one who was worth anything because Roy Williams never did anything in Detroit. Charles Rogers, rest in peace, never did anything in Detroit. Calvin Johnson was the only one.
Yep. And I don't know if I've ever seen a player better than him. Just purely at football, he was so fucking good.
Just on a
Sorry.
pure talent
So good.
basis, I don't know how many guys I'd rather have than Calvin Johnson.
And I see him as a Saquon where it's like, sorry, got hair in my mouth. He is like he'll change your offense. Like,
Absolutely,
he'll win you games.
he is that prolific as of a receiver.
I don't know if we've seen anybody like that since him.
The size
To be
speed
honest with you.
combination, it's just so rare.
Well, and I mean just somebody that's like so talented like that he wins you football games just by himself.
Because I mean, if you want to talk about the
Because
closest thing to Calvin right now, I'd have to, and I don't even like this guy that much. I'd have to say DK Metcalf is the closest thing to a Megatron we have right now.
he's not even close. But he's not even that close. He's the closest, but he's not even that close. I think Jamar might be in that conversation too, though. To be honest.
I mean, Jamar is arguably the best receiver in football, but I do not see Jamar catching the ball in triple coverage multiple times throughout his career like Calvin did. But he's got a long time to do it.
I don't see DK doing it either.
No, but DK is the kind of physical specimen where you could think about doing it.
Yeah. And I mean, and the fact of the matter is kind of like as football fans, we got spoiled for a while because it was like Randy was that way too. And then Megatron basically replaced him as the super freak.
And then we had Julio and
everybody's...
then we had AB who did it a different way, but AB was an elite receiver. Maybe Mike Evans is too slow to be compared to Calvin Johnson, quite frankly.
Yeah, there's like 2 second or 0.2. What is it? 4 point. I think he ran out 4.540, and Calvin was a 4.3 guy.
Let me double check. Calvin might have been 4.2.
I think it was a 4.31, which is absurd for his size.
Oh, he ran a 4.35 at 6'5", 240.
That's insane.
Like,
and Randy was faster than him, but he was slightly smaller.
Yeah, he was a full tenth of a second faster.
Would you say? I mean, I know you don't like Ohio State, but Jeremiah Smith might be the closest to Calvin too. Currently playing football.
I mean, that's another great receiver. Like Ohio State makes them. They make them right, man. I hate to admit it, but I mean, just look at the results. Ohio State has a bunch of great receivers in the pros.
Even though he's not as talented and he isn't panning out yet, Marv's up in that category too. And Marv is probably the best receiver prospect since at least Julio, but maybe Calvin.
I definitely think Julio was a better prospect than Marv.
That's fair. I mean, that's fair.
Now Marv absolutely was like the most polished receiver prospect we've seen in a long time.
Do you think he was the best since Julio? Like, there's nobody in between that was better?
I mean,
don't really think there was.
I mean, you look at the guys who were taken that high. You're looking at like a Jamar Chase, who I would say there was more hype around Marv coming out than Jamar.
Yeah, it's because he sat out that season. I mean, maybe Jamar would be in that conversation more had he not sat out that season. Which COVID just made a mess of everything, including the draft process.
Oh, absolutely. It was weird. Weird time to be alive as a sports fan.
Watkins went pretty high.
Amari Cooper was not on that level of Marv, but he was highly touted too.
And Watkins, I mean, honestly, he deserved his hype, but I don't know. I don't think he was that hyped either. Because
It's
Watkins
just,
went 4th overall to the Bills.
Marv might be the best hyped prospect since Julio. Now that we're talking about it out loud.
Yeah, and I think he'll succeed.
He'll figure it out at some point. Just maybe not with Arizona.
Yeah, well, and him and Kyler aren't an ideal fit. I mean, even Calvin Johnson didn't really play well his rookie year before he had Stafford.
Yeah, but I mean, when you have Dan Orlovsky throwing you the football, I mean, let's not act like Calvin was in a good situation.
No, I know that's not really Calvin's fault. Yeah.
I mean, he got drafted to the eventual 0-16 Lions.
I love him so much, man. I love that. I love Stafford too. Like oh, by the way, I was gonna say too. I kind of feel like we've talked through the whole draft process stuff. I think we pretty much got our point across.
Yeah.
Just because we made a hard segue into talking about old players and stuff, and I was like, well, we kind of got our. I was just saying we need to get back to the topic, but I was like, we kind of.
No, we definitely because we've ran for a little over an hour now. We can probably cut it off here. But just to recap it, we both agree that you got to draft through the trenches to build Super Bowl contenders because I mean, it doesn't matter how good your skill positions are if you have no time to throw or no rushing lanes.
Yeah, and I would say, okay, so to summarize, through the trenches, draft the trading and free agency supplemental. Usually, again, there's always outliers, but usually you want to supplement your team through those two things, not build it through it. You know what I mean? A piece here, a piece there, but most Eagles are built through the draft. One trade, one free. I mean, I'm exaggerating. There's probably a lot more trades. I'm saying one draft, one big trade, one big free agency signing. You supplement your team that way. I think that's the way to go.
Yep. Absolutely. So, I mean, I think we have what's probably going to be the most common opinion on this topic, but it's still important to talk about because many people think that you can just solve all your team's issues by trading for like one superstar when that more than likely will actually tank your championship aspirations. I mean, I'll call it right now. Green Bay is not going to win a Super Bowl with Micah Parsons on their roster.
Oh, I take that bet. I think they're going to win this year, to be honest with you.
I don't know, man. Yeah, they looked good 2 weeks, the first 2 weeks, but last 2 weeks they have lost to Cleveland and tied Dallas. And quite frankly, their run game hasn't been that dominant. Like, yeah, Josh Jacobs has been good as a fantasy back, but that's because he keeps scoring touchdowns. His running efficiency has not been there this year.
No, you're not wrong on that. That's one of those weird situations. Like, well, TMC's kind of that way too. Like, he's so dominant in fantasy right now. He's not really rushing the ball very well.
No, he's
like, I look at his numbers and I'm like, good for fantasy.
Yeah, and that'll be the interesting thing to see because like nothing about Green Bay's offense tells me Super Bowl caliber, and then Green Bay's secondary outside of Xavier McKinney is flaming garbage.
Losing Jair was tough too. That was a bad thing to happen.
There was no reason to cut him. I get that he hasn't even been healthy for Baltimore, but a guy of his caliber, you don't just let walk and not replace him with someone competent.
Yeah, the dynamic there was weird, but yeah, we got I'd say we got our point across with all that, and yeah.
No, absolutely. And the last thing I just want to do, I do apologize to if somehow someone did take my advice for Survivor last week because I didn't even take my own advice. But and I will admit that I'm not sure I'm going to pick this as my own personal pick, but the gimme of the week has got to be Detroit over Cincinnati.
Yeah. Thanks.
Sorry, Sam, but no Joe Burrow, all the problems.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're definitely not wrong. It's gonna be tough.
So with that, we will
That's a
be
good pick.
back. We will be back next week with a new topic. And just until then, everyone have a good time, enjoy some good football, and enjoy